Ladies, gentlemen, thank you again for joining us today. Today, we're going to talk about sustainable compliance. And usually, when you think about compliance, you don't think sustainable, right? You go with the idea I have an audit, I need to be compliant. Our audit has passed, compliance has passed too. So that's that. Larissa, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's not the right way to approach compliance.
It's
What's
not.
your opinion on that?
I would like it to be continuous. So stopping for, you have the audit, you stop. You have the audit, you stop. First of all, it's not really good for the teams because they have a different view for each time of the year, and that's not security. Second, it would be nice to be continuous so that whenever somebody wants something from us, we can just pull it out and send it to them. And here comes Heimdal with some really, really cool feature now, where they help you to be continuous compliant. Also, how is this cool? Because you will see that the regulations are getting crazier and crazier by the day. So we are hit with audit requirements that were not there before, and we get them 2 weeks ahead. That's crazy. Who can implement something in 2 weeks? Nobody. So it's really good to have something that goes along with your company and helps you sustain and support a continuous compliance. Let's get
Thank
into
you,
it.
and that's cool because you just introed my first part of the webinar over here. But before we get to that, let's actually handle a few of the basics. Again, in the housekeeping part, we will have a trivia game. I'll ask you some questions. You respond in the questions box. We already discussed about the price. Just a reminder for everyone, it's a Heimdal Home Premium License, AV, DNS security, and patching for your home computer. Everybody that joined us today, even if you don't respond in the trivia games, I would love for you at least to be active in the questions box with us. But still, even if you're not, and if you're just listening, you will still get the Heimdal Home Premium License as a gift from us due to the technical glitch that was yesterday. So, with that being said, in a webinar, you know what you joined for, right? Which is the compliance part. But you still need to know a few things, such as who are your speakers and what actually makes them eligible to talk to you about this topic. So I will do a quick introduction of Larisa. So Larisa is an information security manager. She works in one of the, if not the most regulated and fast moving industries in the world, which is the iGaming industry. I know that some people might consider healthcare or banking the highest regulated industry in the world, but you might actually have a surprise if you look at how many controls, compliances, local regulations the iGaming industry needs to follow. So if you are to listen to an expert, listen to the expert that actually goes day in and day out in the heaviest, most complex requirement of that particular topic that we're discussing about. So Larissa is actually very active on social media when it comes to bridging the this huge gap between the technical people and the law part, the compliance part, the GRC part. So that's what she shines at. And as you can see on this slide, she made massive cost savings for companies. Like only in DORA implementation, she saved over €500,000, which is a recurring cost every 3 years. Also, you
Yes.
can see in perimeter and implementation optimization for cybersecurity audits in general, she saved over €300,000 per year. And this is a recurring cost. So that's why when I went in the market and tried to find the best speaker for you guys, you know that I never do half measures when I find external speakers. I prefer to speak myself, right? But when I need an external speaker, you can bet I will find the best one. And if you guys want to connect with Larisa and see what she posts day in and day out, she's very active on LinkedIn. Scan this QR code and make sure you connect with her and follow because she has some amazing projects upcoming in 2025. But I will not say anything more. I'll pass it to Larisa to say a few words to you, and then I'll continue with the other unknowns of the session. Please,
So
Larisa.
me and Andrei are like the two halves of the brain. So I'm the artsy legal part of the brain, and he's the implementation engineer. This is why we complete each other so well, and the seminar is going to be awesome. What I'm doing now, and I think it's going to be really interesting for you too, guys, is implementation of DORA in the crypto space for the European Union. So whenever I will talk, I will try to make a reference or two. Also, I will try to touch on the very painful points of third-party security questionnaires that are killing everybody's soul, and the number of audits that's growing every year. So we will also talk about audits that might not be necessarily cybersecurity related, but are financial related or insurance related and do have a cybersecurity component. Also, we will touch on the GDPR and DPO structure and how we can communicate better to them and how this controls helps us maintain a continuous compliance with them too. This is
That's
it.
perfect.
Let's present them the report, the
That's
hyped
perfect,
report.
Larisa. Perfect. Okay, then the next unknown for people that don't know who the host is, my name. Actually, I took out my name. You don't need to know who I am, but you can connect with me on LinkedIn. So I actually want to start off with the first trivia question, right? When you think about the world, the only constant in life is change. Now, the first trivia question for you guys is who said this first in the world? And now I want to see the questions box lighting up. Of course, you can Google it. You don't need to know this by heart. Let's see who's the fastest Googler here. Come on.
ChatGPT this.
Yeah, we no longer Google. We use chatbots. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Christian came with the correct response, but nobody else saw what you wrote, Christian. So I am accepting two more. Okay, Gyula. Okay, and let's see. No, not Jim Ron Soren. Jim Ron actually took it from somebody else, somebody ancient. It's not God, Casper, but God is the one dictating this. So I do agree with you. Come on, I need a third winner, please. Not Plato, but very good, Jens. Come on. There's one more winner that I can have on this one. Perfect, Savka from Bulgaria. It's I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Heraclitus. And the thing is that everything changes so fast. And this is actually why all of these cybersecurity frameworks, these huge frameworks that have appeared, they didn't appear just to complicate our life. That's the reality. They actually appeared to offer us a baseline of security. I believe we have a few people from UK in the list, right? Do you consider people from UK again that Cyber Essentials is actually an entire stable security foundation? Let's see. Anybody from UK? Come on. Let me see. Do I have anybody from UK? I should. Come on. I see a few names very well rooted in the UK and in Cyber Essentials. Nick came and said, no, it is a good start. Kevin, it's a good starting point. Exactly. That's why people look at these regulations, these directives, these frameworks, they look at them a bit wrong because they look at them from the paradigm that this is something that I need to do because I need to check that mark. No, this is something that you need to do in your company just to have a foundation of security. Then, depending on your industry, depending on other regulation, depending on your day-to-day work, where are your assets stored? What could actually bring your business down? What's your crown jewel of your business, right? When it comes to IT, then you build up on that, depending on what you need. You guys know I'm not a fan of this is the best security for everyone. It's the best security for that particular use case, that company that I see some MSPs. Guys, you know there's no equal security across your customers. Each of them are different. So you need to be able to pivot, understand exactly, and that's where your expertise comes in. But this is a small tangent. Coming back to the compliance factors. The fact is that we need to change how we look at these compliance factors. Well, let me tell you a bit about the host today. Heimdal Security is the host, a Danish cybersecurity company, global reach. We have an XDR platform, which is the widest in the market. Everything comes in natively integrated in one agent, no API connectors. And on this slide, I have a bit of information that you need for one of the cyber trivia questions later on. Currently, we're servicing over 16,000 customers. And what I wanted to show you is what we will be bringing to these 16 plus thousand customers in Q1 2025. But again, look at the slide, maybe take a quick screenshot because you'll need it a bit later in the session today. Yes, Casper, the session is recorded. By the way, I love this. Come with the questions, with the dynamic entries all over the session, please. Do not wait for the end. Both Larisa and myself are fans of an active session. If you guys start talking to us and we pivot in a way that we were not expecting, we don't mind, because the session needs to be the best for the people that are here today, right? So please feel free to do that. Now, again, Casper, yes, it is recorded. Perfect. Let's move forward. So what is Heimdal bringing to all these customers in Q1 2025? So we are bringing a full NIS2 compliance report alongside, for our UK folks, a Cyber Essentials compliance report. We are bringing a NIST compliance report in as well. But the heavy hitter for this particular session, where we're talking and something that's already in development and is coming Q1 right now, is the NIST2 compliance report. And what you'll see in this one, let me put a pointer over here so that we can follow the screen. So you will be able to co-brand it for those on the session who are partners, right? And I see a few of you guys, Kevin, Casper, and so on. So you can add your logo over here and you can extract a report whenever you want and see exactly out of all the controls that Heimdal can assist you with. And again, guys, Heimdal or another security product is not your silver bullet when it comes to compliance. Compliance is the product, your processes on top, and what you do, how you report things, how you put the controls in. So again, if anybody comes and says, buy this product, this will do compliance for you, run away. Run away, because they just want to take your budget. So what will you see in this report? You will have the item that we're covering. For example, starting with the first one, policies on risk analysis and information security systems. You will have the exact article and paragraph that this is attached to. And from the Heimdal view, of course, you will see exactly what was your risk score across a period. And on the bottom, which is not too visible right now, but on the bottom, you have the exact link to the directive document from the European Union. Then you have incident handling, which we know that is a very, very important part in this particular regulation. And I'll just skim through this report. If anybody wants this demo report, I will send it to you. No worries. Just send me a ping after the session. Business continuity planning. So this is a great example. You even see Heimdal does not provide backup and disaster recovery. However, for crisis management, your managed SOC configuration is fully configured, which is Casper is already pinging me for the demo report. That's why I love this audience, Larisa. You'll see they're my regulars, and I actually see a few more in the list over here. Then supply chain security. Heimdal again can't do the supply chain security for you. However, if you use the Heimdal email, we can tell you which are the external suppliers, the top 5 external suppliers your team is talking to you to them most regularly, right? Nick is asking, can I access them in the RC dashboard? Not yet, Nick. I believe this comes with the January RC release. But again, we can connect in the background and talk about it. Then security in the network. How do you do your vulnerability handling when it comes to the patches that Heimdal do for you, OS, and of course third-party applications, policies and procedures to assess the effectiveness of your cybersecurity. So you can see what engines are on what policies, of course, and you will see warnings when some of the engines are off. And again, as Larisa said, this helps you with that continuous compliance. That's the trick here. Not to be compliant once per year or 2 times per year or whenever somebody audits you. It's actually be compliant all the time and be able to go back and show that anytime, any day, anywhere. Then you have the basic cyber hygiene. Then you have the data about vulnerabilities that have been applied, uh, patched, sorry, policies and procedures regarding cryptography, what drives are encrypted, what drives are not, human resource security, again, not handled. However, you do have access control policies that you can handle with Heimdal. Again, as you can see, this is totally honest because we could say that we do that for you, even if we do 1% of that, but that's not the reality, right? So I really want you guys to be very careful when it comes to this. And last but not least, something that we're releasing now with the login anomaly detection and the threat hunting based on the user activity, multi-factor authenticator, which is us showing you if you have it or not enabled and enforcing that, plus the password length, health, complexity, and so on and so forth. So this is what Heimdal is coming with in 2025 for our customers. And now we will work with Larisa to see exactly why this is so important. But before we do that, there's another trivia question for you guys. So the question goes like this. In what year was the NIS directive first issued? And this is NIS 1, not NIS 2. Let's see.
Fastest fingers win.
Yep. And Dusan, I saw your message. You also want the NIS 2 report. Gula, you're a bit off on it. Theodore, congratulations. That's the correct answer, but I still want two. Dusan, a bit off. Nixon, a bit off. Sylvester, correct. And I'm waiting for the third one. I love that people can't see each other's answers. Let's see. I got another one. Lee, correct. That's it. And Vicky, you are the fourth one, but you're still going to be awarded the prize. The first NIST directive came in 2016. Now, Larissa, can I ask you, on behalf of the entire audience, why was it required for a second version of the NIST directive? Can you tell us what's your
Um,
opinion or what you have seen within the entire ecosystem?
The first one was more trying to see how the companies will react to new regulation. We also have to remember that people that write regulations are usually lawyers. So it took them a little bit to find their step in how a cybersecurity regulation should look. And of course, it was not sufficient. So they needed also DORA for risk management. And we will see a lot more. You will see the CRA Act and so on. So you will see a lot more. It was just the beginning. So this is why they had a second iteration. For example, now I feel the need for a second iteration for GDPR. I think it impedes the AI projects and it's going to be required sooner or later. So once they put it in place, although it is highly inspired by what the British efforts and the Israeli efforts, but it's not enough to see how the European market will react. So this is why they have something small in the beginning and then they keep adding or changing as time goes by.
Thank you, thank you. And I actually also think that the part with not having it as perfectly defined, and now I actually piece the pieces together of the puzzle. What you just said, I never thought of it like that. Like let's do like a beta test, a minimum
Yes,
viable product type of approach, because at the end of the day, you can't just bring a ton of controls all of a sudden, right? You need to ease into them slowly, and I actually think that, and again, ladies, gentlemen, you've, I bet you watched all the webinars in the world on this regulation. I bet you already read the directive. So we won't approach this webinar in that standard way with what is NIS? Why did this appear? Who are the industries affected by this? This is thing you can find this all over the web. We actually went a bit different on it. And here I will pass it to Larissa. And Larissa, I will keep an eye on the chat for any questions along the way. But now I will pass it to you for looking at those controls and yeah, basically tell the audience what why you wanted to talk to them and what you wanted to talk to them about.
so when Andrei sent the report to me, I was thinking, okay, this looks really good for NIS2, and it's going to be a really good tool for everybody that wants to implement. But then again, it can be a really good tool for so much more. If you hit another enter, we will see the regulations. And I thought, okay, This can help you with DORA that has 35 controls. It will not flow into all of them, but there are some that it touches. ISO 27K, because almost everybody has one nowadays, and we know the hustle of getting a right auditor that is not too intrusive. SOX 2, again, everybody has it. NIST, PCI DSS, and GDPR. And you will say, okay, but with GDPR, we don't really have an audit. What's happening there? Well, with GDPR, if you get fined, God forbid, I knocked on wood, if you get a fine, you can actually go and negotiate that fine if you can prove that you had due diligence in place. And you can show due diligence by presenting a report that says, look, guys, I was compliant and had this base level of cybersecurity for 10 years. Of course, it will happen. Everybody gets breached at some point. So it's not necessarily my complete fault that it happened. And you can negotiate the fines, which we've seen fines of 10,000 K, which is not that much, but again, fines of 300 million euros, which is a lot. So you have to be careful and you have to document all these things. They might help you later a lot. We can go into the
Nice.
next
By the
slide.
way, Larissa, let me stop you for a second. I see Yonuts Stoic, Yonuts, no saying last names, is has his hand up. Yonuts, could you find the questions box and let us know exactly what you want to ask? Yeah, that's perfect. I just wanted to make sure Yonuts has the opportunity to ask the question. Okay, so should I continue?
We can wait for your notes because if the question is related to this slide. So the number of controls that you guys see are approximate controls. They are usually, for example, NIST 853, everybody knows there are over 1,000 controls. But usually a company goes between 50 and 200, depending on the industry. So what you see are approximate controls. Each and every one of you will have a different set according to the auditor, because you first go for that. So do we have the question in?
I don't think so. Maybe he wanted to just push a reaction. Oh, there's a question coming in. Not related, just can't write in the chat. Yonuts, this is the chat. Unfortunately, this is how the webinar platform works. I do apologize for that on their behalf, of course. But this is the chat. You found it. That's great. So you can participate in the trivia games. Okay,
Perfect.
let's move on.
So I wanted to make the clear difference between compliance and threat-focused actions. When we do compliance, we usually look at a list of abstract controls that might or might not totally apply to our company and might or might not mitigate against threats. What I like about this report is that it kind of marries the two. So you don't have a divorced reality of we're doing compliance for the sake of compliance, and then you have the threats that will bite you in the ass and you will get a fine. So you kind of put them together and you look at something holistic. I know, bad word, but then again. Um, so how is this working? If you have continuous monitoring, you can use that in a threat environment, but it's also audit focused. So you can show it in an audit and close a control super fast. If you have the correct basic pillars, which Andrei mentioned at the beginning of our seminar, you limit the man hours that you need in order to work on implementation, because you are focusing on what's necessary both for the company, for the actual security, and for the audits. And you don't go on side quests that might or might not be useful. Also, focusing on threat-based technical controls. This is what I like the most. Yes, we do generate proof, but first we make sure we are actually safe. And then we do not have to have the cycles of audit. I really like my engineering team, and I work like this because they need pockets of silence. So when an engineer does implementation, he can't be in 27 audits. He needs pockets of silence, pockets of no meetings this week because I have to finish this. And when I can pull a report and show a report, I don't have to bother him. When I know this report is focused on something that will go in all the audits, I don't have to bother anybody from my technical department, and I can let them actually do their job. So this is why this is so cool. Okay.
Should I move?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Again, ladies, gentlemen, don't shy away from questions.
And here we are, our first information. So policies on risk analysis and information system security. I've put on the petals of the flowers some domains extra from what we talked in the beginning that might use this information. You will see even insurance. You will see third-party assessment. I put national banks because sometimes national banks have some regulations that make you implement something within the policies. Why we are talking about insurance? The rest, I think it's pretty self-explanatory, so I'm tackling the ones that are not necessarily on the mind. People purchase insurance and think, okay, I've purchased it, so now I'm good. But you have to think of insurance just like you think of your car. Do you know that for the insurance to work, the driver cannot have alcohol and the car has to be verified by a mechanic at least every year or every 2 years, or else the insurance will not work? This is the same. It's called due diligence. So when we purchase insurance, we actually have to prove that we have put our best efforts so that something bad doesn't happen to us. If we can't prove that, even if we do it, it's going to be really hard to extract the value out of the insurance we purchased. When we have a report like this, we can go back and show to people, okay, we have put our best efforts in, but then again, life happens. I've seen a lot of situations like this, even with SOX and SOC 2, where the engineering team was actually implementing the controls, but because they never had an audit before, they didn't really capture the proof. And without capturing the proof, you can't actually show people that you have implemented that you have done what's required of you. So this is why I've put insurance. Also, with third-party assessments, we all know the Excel with 225 controls that goes and keeps on going, and usually comes on a Thursday evening, and they want it by Monday. So when you look at that, I'm really sorry, Andrei. When you look at that, it's easier to actually have your set of controls that are covered by Heimdal, top of the mind, or another Excel, and you just put together the two. When you do that, all it becomes easy peasy lemon squeezy. Also, everybody needs policies on risk analysis and information system security. That's not a control you can skip. Everybody, whenever they have an audit, they will require that of you. We have also put on my right-hand side the actual controls that you will use this aspect from the report. With DORA, you will tell me, okay, but DORA, why is it here? Well, it's a crisis management regulation. So crisis management goes really well with insurance. That means that when you will have the incident, you will actually have to prove that you were implementing measures in order to limit the damage that an incident can cause. So this will also go within a DORA audit, or it will go towards a DORA incident.
And by the
Good.
way,
Let's look.
Larissa, we have somebody from Hungary, a dear friend of ours, Gyula, saying, and I'm quoting, and it's in every insurance company's interest not to
Yeah.
pay. So they
Yes.
will do everything
Yes.
they can to prove that it is the customer's fault, and they will not pay. So that's why exactly what Larissa said earlier, having something to actually prove the controls. Ladies, gentlemen, this is crucial because they will do their best, exactly as Gyula said. And I hope you're not speaking from too much experience on this issue, Gyula, but they will do the best not to pay out.
So my
Sorry
father
for
was
interrupting.
actually my father was an insurance auditor, so I have a lot of experience with looking to not pay for the damage caused. Good. Let's go on.
Okay, so let's move to the next control over here, which is one of my favorites, incident handling.
Incident handling, everybody's favorite, especially between Christmas and New Year's Eve. So, for everybody that worked in cybersecurity for more than 3 years, we all know that we live with our laptop under the pillow because we will have an incident between Christmas and New Year's Eve. Um, as you see, it covers a lot of framework controls, a lot of them. Also, with the third party assessment, I've had some really, really unpleasant experiences with third parties that could not provide anything for inspecting the incident or reporting the incident. I had to find out from the news. Those contracts ended. So we also have to think of who we are providing service for and how do we present ourselves when something bad happens to us. That will be crucial for that relationship to move on and continue unscathed. In order to have that, everybody reacts really well to numbers. If we can show a report, if we can show that we handle that incident and we have the controls covered, and we are putting our best effort prior to any incident and after each incident, our partners will maintain trust because every business relationship is a relationship of trust. For example, what I saw, and to me it was really awkward to see, was after the CrowdStrike incident, they made fun of people that had their systems down and sued them and said, those were obsolete. Yeah, but you knew that when they purchased from you. And you thought it's okay to laugh at them now after their system was down for a week. So that's not a good reaction towards a damage that you have caused. This is why it's very important to also have soft skills and preventative skills. So when something truly bad happens, we can show our partners that they can still trust us and that the relationship can continue as it did. One of the examples is at the bank that I worked prior to my iGaming job. We had some incidents regarding GDPR because two lawyer companies lost their entire database to a breach. I had to find out from the news. How embarrassing was then to go to my clients after a month and tell them, we lost all your data. And every litigation that we have with you is now in the press. So how embarrassing that felt.
Oh
This is
my
why
God.
it's I know. I had to do that. So um, of course we cut all the ties with those companies and we will not work again because trust has been broken. So
Okay,
this is
that's heavy. That's heavy.
yes.
Ladies, gentlemen, I see cyber people here. Isn't this part with who do you need to communicate the incident to a part of every incident response plan ever created?
Yes. And every
It should
contract
be.
that you ever signed.
Larissa, I have a proposal for you. I have some great MSPs over here, MSSPs in this list. If you ever need to suggest to one of those law firms or anything a proper security team, tell me, and I have people from across the world in the list that could really do the job properly for them. Yeah,
Well,
sorry for
I
interrupting you, but this one literally
take the cake.
stepped on my nerves.
Well, I was looking on eBay to purchase a dragon because I was feeling like Khaleesi that day. So not really good. So you see how having a report and being prepared and maintaining that report and maintaining compliance during a long period of time builds trust and shows trust. Also, being able to provide something when the incident happens to your partners, that will also build a lot of trust, and the relationship will go on without them negotiating your price the next year because they will be you had two incidents. Like, can we talk a little about that? So you see how you don't put weapons against your company in other people's hands. Also, if we get a fine, it's very easy to negotiate that fine down. Or when we go into litigation for that fine, we can prove to a judge that we had our due diligence on and we had our governance hat and our compliance hat on while thinking of this. It was not something on the moment, on the go. Thank you.
Okay.
And
By
from
the way,
you?
ladies, gentlemen, if you don't know how the managed SOC incident report looks like from Heimdal, let me know. Again, ping in the chat over there. I can send you an example, but it starts with when this was detected, who was informed, what were the isolation actions, the containment actions, what was the analysis, what was the reverse engineering of the viruses or malware or ransomware or whatever you had there timeline of events, what was the remediation, and so on and so forth. This is how you properly show you handled an incident. And guess what? NIS2 is okay. Okay. The rest of them do need that, but NIS2 obligates you legally, CISOs, IT managers, and so on and so forth. Any company that qualifies for NIS2, essential, important. Yeah, I won't go into the basics. You guys know the basics already. But the legal appointed person for security will be personally liable, personally. So not the company will get the fine. The company will get the fine. And have you guys seen the fines? I believe you did, right? It's huge, huge. And let's say the ones that are in the essentials are lucky because they will be controlled. But the ones that are in the important MSPs, right? You guys are here. You guys are in the important factor. So if you guys get breached, you will only be controlled after the breach. And then you need to go back in time, which is the funny part, right? Because you don't have the data, and show that you actually were compliant. And that's where the fun starts. I was about to say something that's not politically correct, but I stopped in the perfect timing. That's when the fun starts, because sometimes it's very difficult to go back. You don't store all your logs. You don't store all your incident reports. You don't store all of these controls. Well, in that case, it's going to be a bit of a problem for you because you will pay the fine. And that's a huge, huge problem. And Lee, I saw your note. Adrian, I saw your note. I will send the reports to you guys. By the way, if anybody notices that I forget to send the reports, please do also email me. The majority of you have my email from the webinar notifications and so on and so forth. I will do my best to send them. I'm sorry, Larisa, for this one, for interrupting you again, but yeah, I like to talk. I don't know if you noticed this, and for me, it's weird not to be the one doing all the talking on a webinar. Do we still want to tell people anything about the incident handling, or do we want to move to the next control?
We can move to the next one.
Okay. And by the way, I have something in the chat over here. So Gyula saying, in my opinion, the client does not want to accept our proposal. It should be pointed out that in that case, we cannot guarantee their safety and they must take responsibility. Well, that is the case. You as an MSP, MSSP, and so on, you're not legally liable for your customer. Actually, it's the person on their side that's appointed legally to be the security governance person, right? In some cases, it's just the IT guy that just takes this for a bit of a salary bump, something like that, and so on and so forth. Their responsibility is actually to work with you to make sure everything is right, but they are legally responding. Now, what happens to you as a provider of such services if you are breached? Then the controls come to you. That's what some people said, we're lucky because we won't get the constant controls. No, you are unlucky, because not getting the constant controls right now might actually end up in you slipping on the compliance part, and you will only be controlled after the fact. And that's dangerous. In my opinion, it's actually more dangerous than being constantly controlled.
So
And Theodore, oh,
yeah.
please, Larissa.
So how to protect yourself, Yula? The best way to do it is send an email where you inform. Your job is to inform them of the risk so that they understand the risk. That means how I would do it and how I do it on my day job is I send a short report for everything and then I attach the full information. And I need them to send me something that they have seen the email or acknowledged it. This will protect you in case of anything on their side. Yes, you will have to answer questions, but then again, you will prove that I informed them of the risk. They knew how they should act, but then again, I'm not the one taking the actions, it's them. If they have a formalized internal risk procedure, awesome. If they don't, you did what you had to do on your side. If you are breached on your side, it is really interesting because the responsibility is split like the GDPR one. That means if customers are touched, both companies answer for that breach. So it's very good to have segmentation on, to have different devices, all the bits and pieces. But be careful, because if your breach leads to a bigger breach on their side or to customers'
Supply
data being
chain.
touched, then we have a bigger problem on our hands.
And this is
Andrei?
exactly what Theodore is asking. So in NIS2, only the responsible person is liable, unlike the other regulations. What if it's the customer's fault? Larissa, do you want to take this one? Should I?
Yes, so uh, European Union is very funny and has a really good sense of humor. In the financial sector, so only who works for banks, even if the customer is being stupid on their side, so if they are being scammed, from 2028, you will be obligated to compensate the scam. So even if the client is at fault. But if we are going to have a breach and the client is somewhat breached, the end customers, I think that's who are we talking about, the end customer is breached, it shouldn't spill into your system. So they should only access the data the customer had. And that's entirely on them. So you can't really protect against a stupid person. Like, you can tell them, have a strong password, don't share your account. But if they insist on having the same password on every account they have ever created, you can't really protect against that. If you were talking about the other case, like you provide services for a company and they are being breached because they didn't take your advice, as long as you can prove that you provided the advice, you are safe. This is what's in your contract also. So we should always, I think I'm speaking to a lot of engineers here, and engineers are exceptionally good with execution, but really bad at collecting proof. So everything you do, you have to think, if somebody will ever question me 3 years from now, how do I prove that I did my job? Because in my heart, I know I did it. But how can I prove to others in a way that they understand that I did my job? And the best way to do it is an email. Why? Because the addresses, so who received that email, are there. So there is no question to whom you told that information. The information is explained in there. Again, no question who received the information. And I would also push for them to send me something back. I acknowledge the information, or I understand the risk, or something that's on airs on that side. And then you are covered. Collect all those emails. So put them in a special folder, never delete them. Because usually what customers do, they think, okay, we're doing a risk analysis. The fine is usually 20,000 euros. What we could make of this is like 300,000 euros. Great, we'll take the fine. And then the fines change because something changes at the government level, and the fine is 500,000. And they are in a hole for 200. They will look for somebody to push that onto. And you have to make sure that I told you guys that the legal fines can go from here to there, blah, 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 blah. It was your decision, so you are responsible for that one. Have I answered the question? Is everything okay?
I believe so. We also answered it before we actually got to reading the question out loud. Lots of activity in the chat. Kevin says multiple emails asking the same question and a signed waiver. And so on and so forth. By the way, and Theodore is saying yes, thank you for the response. By the way, the audience asked you, Larissa, do you have a compliance tool that you prefer using when it comes to your job, your activities, your projects? I know of one for MSPs in general, which I responded in the chat privately, but do you recommend any out there in the market?
I don't use anything because I've had really bad experiences. So I use Jira and Excel, a combination. But Jira, as we all know, is the place where information goes to die, just like Confluence. So I usually hunt people on emails, and I have a million notifications in my calendar. I used to use tools. At some point, they managed to disappoint me tragically, exactly when I needed them the most. So I'm keeping away at the time.
Perfect. And we will not make counter advertising for them. We'll just let them be in their space with the disappointment that they offer.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay. By the way, ladies, gentlemen, I love it. Be active in the chat. Tell us exactly where do you want us to go with this, because again, this is for you, so it's important.
And
Now,
don't
getting back to
worry,
this. Oh, sure.
and don't worry if you don't touch all the information, you can always contact me and I'm always happy to help. So don't worry about that.
We will also send you
Good.
the deck. You know, you can always contact me as well. I can further it to Larisa, or again, you can connect with her. You have that QR
On
code.
LinkedIn, I always answer on LinkedIn, so it's fine.
That's perfect. That's
Good.
perfect. That's where we all live and breathe when it comes to our work, social media.
So
Anything on the
let's,
crisis management part that we want to
yes.
touch on?
So DORA is basically half crisis management, uh, which means that it will spill into NIS2. And we also have so many other frameworks that encompass that. Uh, you will say, okay, but it's not necessarily ISO. Yeah, it's not. It's not necessarily PCI DSS. Yeah, it's not. But they all have at least some controls that touch on that. Crisis management is really the stepchild of everybody. Nobody takes it into consideration because we all like to hope that it will not happen to us. But we should be prepared for when it happened to us, because it will. We have two standards that are dedicated to crisis management. So we have that information there and we can rely on that. They are very good. I usually read them. They are also free on the internet. So if you want, I can provide you with the standards, but it's really easy to go through them and to see how they marry with the report. What's happening in the crisis? You say, okay, but crisis, why do I need a report to prove compliance? Usually, when a crisis happened, you will be asked to present a process that you internally have, that it's being tested. So keep that in mind, and not tested during an incident, like tested when nothing bad is actually happening to you, and having a definite frequency for testing. I saw people that go bananas and test every 3 months. I don't recommend that because everybody will hate you. But once a year is quite good. But if you can also show that you do something continuously, even if you didn't have time to test that year or you forgot or something happened, you can have something to prove that the plan is somewhat tested or somewhat covered and maintained. The keyword is maintained. Just like, if I have a process or a procedure, I do have to look at it at least once a year or anytime something big changes. When you do a crisis management plan, you also have to supervise it and look at the measures to make sure they are still valid. By having this, you can also prove that. Good. We can move on to the next slide.
Perfect, perfect. By the way, Yunus is asking us, is it necessary to have both NIS2 and DORA depending on the company's profile?
It really depends on the country, not on the company's profile. So, DORA, it was made compulsory by the European Union. So that applies everywhere in the EU. NIS2, countries have to actually transpose it. They had a deadline, most countries didn't. So if we look at Poland, for example, we will see that they have nothing. If we look at Romania, Romania transposed everything the second it hit the market. Why do the countries operate like this? Because NIS2 is very expensive to implement. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, you will need to hire network people, you will need to hire governance people, you might need to hire somebody on the CISO side, a lot of testing that's very expensive, and so on and so forth. So, in order to stay competitive on the market, some countries chose to not implement it. But things are going to change because the European Union published the implementation framework for NIS2, which means it will force everybody by regulation to implement it. It might not happen in 2025, but I assume by 2026 it will. Why? Because DORA makes no sense without NIS2. If you don't have the technical measures in, the risk frameworks are kind of useless. So yes, at the moment it will not be everywhere. Most of you might only hear about it and know about it, but why not be prepared? And if you also do things for other frameworks that you have implemented, like ISO 27000, NIST, PCI DSS, why not look at it and put a little more effort and have it done for NIS2. So when it hits the market, or when a partner requires you to be NIS2 compliant, because that might also happen because we work in huge groups that act everywhere in the EU and the world, you actually have everything done and you just present it. I always like to be proactive and not reactive, because being reactive costs a lot of money. When you try to scramble for an auditor between Christmas and New Eve, I had to do that too. When you try to scramble for a pen test in that time frame, and you need it done by January, prices will reflect that. Your team will reflect on that, and some people will actually quit on you. And it's okay, because it was on you that you didn't put in the effort prior. So this is why I'm accentuating this, because it's very easy to hit every mark if you prepare a little before.
Thank
I
you.
hope I
Thank
answered
you
the
for that.
question.
Yes. Uh, okay. Then we have vulnerability handling.
Everybody's favorite. Yay, hands in the air. So we all have those systems that have not been patched in 27 years. My mother was still young when the last patch was deployed. So why do we have to think of this? Why do we have to have a process and a procedure? It's because sometimes we try to think of only the most important things that need to be patched. Sometimes we try to think only of the new risk that's coming towards us, but we have to see it in a holistic manner. I've had systems in the bank that were, COBOL and so on, and they were trying to avoid patching or avoid putting them in contracts, considering them as safe. Why safe is such a lie? It's because if we look at the crypto industry and the banking industry, we will see that banking lost a lot more money to cybersecurity incidents than crypto did. And crypto is, come on, guys, it's bad. So this shows you that old technology and unpatched technology and leaving things as they are will expose you to a lot more risk. And the difference was staggering. So banking lost somewhere $158 per customer per year, and crypto lost $2. So think of the difference. Think of the difference. This proves that not using the right vulnerability handling, that not trying to patch, trying to look after every system that you have might lead to tremendous financial loss. That is different. It's difficult to see if you don't compare the industries that work with the same thing. I compared industries that work with money and people. So when you compare your industry to something similar that uses better technology and that it's actually patched and actually handled for the vulnerability type, you will see the difference, and you will see how important it is from a financial perspective to do this.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay, let's see what's next on our list. Policies and procedures to assess the effectiveness of cybersecurity risk management measures.
Again, everybody's favorite. So usually you are asked, okay, do you have a process or a procedure? Do you actually apply it on the scope? And is it effective? And now we've landed on is it effective? How do we usually test that? We usually have a pen test. We usually check if the people have been informed and know about this process and know how to apply this process and the procedure. So again, it's a lot of legwork that doesn't really shine. You can't really tell somebody with a smile on your face, what did you do this today? I tested if we apply the processes and procedures. It's not sexy. But then again, it's something that keeps you safe, because you can have at your door the most wonderful protection system. If you don't know how to start it, it will not work. Somebody will get into your home and you spend so much money on that system, and again, nothing to show for it. Also, this is very, very important in a lot of frameworks. Every third-party assessment will ask you about this. Do you actually test your cybersecurity? And if you say we pen test and you show them a tenable report, they will say thank you very much and move on to the other supplier. So testing is very important, showing that you test continuously 10 points for that. And it stops being a hassle for you. And you take something unsexy from your plate so that you can focus on things that you actually love doing, like implementation. We can move on.
Thank you. Okay, the next one is basic cyber hygiene practices and cybersecurity training.
Again, covered everywhere. You need to make people aware that cybersecurity is actually important in the company. You need to create the culture for cybersecurity. And I know I'm telling people that have suffered through this, I am suffering through this too. My CISO just clicked on the phishing link, so I know, I know. But then again, you have to show them and you have to present that you are doing this. So basic cybersecurity training, we all do it. You have to do it every year. You have to do it to all the new employees before they ever touch your system. So don't let HR put that in the first 3 months because it will not show compliance. They have to do it before touching anything in the system. So you can send it to them by email before starting the job. And basic cyber hygiene practices. We don't share accounts, we don't share passwords. Everybody has their own badge, own everything, own. Again, we all do it, we all suffer through it. It is what it is, it's everywhere. We can move
Perfect.
on.
Now, considering the time,
The
we
time,
I don't
yeah.
think we can actually cover everything. But if you have any questions burning for Larisa, please send them to me via email. I'll make sure I'll put all of them in one document and circulate them around to everybody because some people might have wanted to ask more questions, but they don't know what to ask, right? So we can do that. I just want to move forward so we have more controls over here. You'll find all of these controls in that report, including the MFA and password strength protection. What I do want you guys is, again, scan the QR code, connect with Larisa. Larisa is also a key part of the Women for Cyber Romania organization. And in my opinion, there should be more people in this space, more women in this space. It's not, it should not be a male dominated industry in any way, shape, or form. And I do have one final trivia question for you guys, and this is where you get that screenshot back. What is the latest recorded Heimdal B2B support satisfaction rate percentage? This is the final chance to take some licenses from me. Come on. The top three, the first three that give me this will win the license. Let's see. Okay, okay. We have people in Sylvester, Kevin, spot on. That's exactly it. Lee is saying it must be 100%. That's impossible, Lee, but thank you so much. And Soren is the last one. The answer is 99.7%, which is awesome. I really wanted you guys to have an easy one towards the end. Okay, ladies, gentlemen, you have a survey coming after the session to you in which you can tell me what you liked, what you don't like about the session, how can this be better for you, and you know that you can ask for demos, you can ask anything you want in that survey, so please fill in that survey. And if you want to book a Ask Me Anything session, scan the QR. If you don't find any time in the nearby period, just send me an email if you need to talk faster. And again, it can be about Heimdal, it can be about cybersecurity, it can be about compliance, you name it. It's an Ask Me Anything session. Kevin says, great session. I'll always thank you both for doing this. Our pleasure, Kevin. Now, we will still keep the floor for one, two final questions. If anybody wants to, Soren, our pleasure. Thank you. Anybody else wants to come with any questions? Let's see. Julia is thanking us as well. Thank you, Julia. Okay, Ian is giving us a thumbs up. Let's see. It was amazing. Thank you. Quite a good feedback. Larisa, I should bring you on more often to these sessions. Okay. Okay, cool. Then it seems we don't have any other pressing questions so far. But again, please send them to me on an email. And in case I'll wait a few days and then send them to Larisa. But please expect a delay considering holidays and stuff. So don't charge us too fast. And what I will do is, I believe on Monday, towards the end of the day, I will be sending the license certificates out again. anybody that joined today will get one by default. The people that also won the trivia contest will see multiple keys on that prize certificate, and I will put a Christmas Heimdal logo on it so that we can bring some merry in our step. Cool. Again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining. I will pass it on to my esteemed guest speaker to say goodbye.
Thank you and see you soon. Bye bye.
Goodbye, everyone. Have a nice one.